Hey everyone, this is PrinceBrightstar and it's time for a channel update. Now while the reboot has been going fairly well, I'm realizing that there are a few faults with how I've decided to do things. Despite the concept of going back and forth allowing you, the viewers, of this channel to participate more in the direction it is taking, having such a system really doesn't allow me the fluidity I would like to have. I'd like to be able to, on a whim, and without having to say it's a chill stream, start up a new game, even if I had just started another on the prior stream. This is ultimately being driven by two things. First, the fact that the last vote only had 4 votes on it, and secondly, I was recently sent a complete game that I had gotten as a reward for backing a different game, and unfortunately because of how I set up the rules of the channel, we basically couldn't look at it until after A Hat in Time had finished, which happened yesterday. Unfortunately now there's a question of relevancy, so that game is off the table now. Because of these flaws, I'm going to be making a major change to how we're going to handle things going forward. First, I am doing away with the old polling system, where I provide you with a list of games to choose from that I want to try out. Instead, I'm going to flip that on its head. I want to hear from you what games I should try. The poll essentially is changing into a text entry where you can type the name of the game that you want me to try out, and then I'll take the list from there with what comes next, in conjunction with any new releases that I've already got on my radar, or anything older I want to revisit. I do, however, have a few genres that I will be excluding from being allowed to be on the list. First, horror games. Let's plays of games like this typically work best when there's a webcam involved, and I have no intention of adding that to the show at this time. Second, first and third person shooters. I just have no interest in these. The last first-person shooter I played was Halo Reach, and it was mostly just for the story content. I barely dipped into any of the player versus player content, as that's just not the kind of gamer I am. I'm not into that competitive scene. Third, and this goes along with the second one as well, fighting games. Your Street Fighters, your Tekkens, your Capcom Versus, games like that. Fourth, card games. I've got a specific one in mind for the future we'll play. There also won't be any sports games allowed on the list here. And lastly, MOBAs. The environment that comes from these are just way too toxic regardless of what game we're talking about. Now, if you do want preferences from me, RPGs, adventure games, and MMOs. Also, feel free to include retro games from these genres as well. I have the ability to go all the way back to the NES era if need be. Hopefully this gives you something to work with. Also, since it got a decent number of views, my offer on randomizers still stands. You can find the link to the new text entry survey below in the description. That's right, I've also removed the Discord requirement for this. And I'm not going to be held specifically to just one game. I could decide to do multiple games at the same time, like I mentioned before, and that leads me into my second announcement. Since the reboot, I've realized how much the Phantasy Star series really does mean to this channel. Even though I've had success, I'm also losing a number of you because I'm just not playing any Phantasy Star anymore. Factor that with the fact that my most watched videos in the past 30 days are still from the Phantasy Star series, it makes me look like I'm avoiding my audience. And so I want to fix that. While we won't be returning to Phantasy Star Online 2 at this time per what drove the reboot in the first place, I do have a different game in mind that I think will help to satisfy some of you. Indeed, it is finally time for us to dip once again into the history of this series with the original Phantasy Star Online. This was the first online console RPG, first released on the Sega Dreamcast, then on the Xbox and GameCube as Phantasy Star Online Episodes 1 and 2, and finally on the PC as Phantasy Star Online Blue Burst, which is the version I'll be playing. Blue Burst is the complete version of the game, providing a series of government quests to help flesh out the story, as well as it being the only way to experience Episode 4. Now, while the servers were taken down long ago, I will be playing on a private server, and it's my hope to eventually invite some of you on some of the missions in this game. Initially, however, it'll only be open to me. I haven't really figured out my plan for how long we're going to go in this series. I could stop at the end of episode 1, or I could go all the way through to the end of episode 4. If I do that, this could go on for at least 40 episodes, even with the new longer format. I don't have a specific date for when we're going to start, but it's going to happen sooner than later. You all give me the energy I need to keep going, and I have no intention of stopping. Anyway, once again, thank you for joining me today. This is PrinceBrightstar signing off. I'll catch you next time.